Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev Sripad Gurudev Sripad. Jai Guru Maharaj Shila Shripad ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 18, Text number 29. Evam striya jadi bhuto vidvan api manognaya bhadam iti aha vivaso nata chitram hi yoshiti. Although Kashyapa Muni was a learned scholar, he was captivated by Diti's artificial behavior, which brought him under her control. Therefore, he assured his wife that he would fulfill her desires. Such a promise by a husband is not at all astonishing. Text number 30. Vilokyekanta bhutani adau prajapatihi striyam chakre swadehardham yaya pumsam matirhruta. In the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of the living entities of the universe, saw that all the living entities were unattached. To increase population, he then created a woman from the better half of man's body. For woman's behavior carries away a man's mind. Purport. This entire universe is going on under the spell of sexual attachment, which was created by Lord Brahma to increase the population of the entire universe, not only in the human society, but also in other species. As stated by Rishabhadeva in the 5th canto, Pumsya Striya Mithuni Bhavam Etam. The entire world is going on under the spell of sexual attraction and desire between man and woman. When man and woman unite, the hard knot of this attraction becomes increasingly tight, and thus a man is implicated in the materialistic way of life. This is the illusion of the material world. This illusion acted upon Kashyapa Muni, although he was very learned and advanced in spiritual knowledge. As stated in the Manu Samhita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Matra Swarsas dutira matra swars mata swasra dutira va na viviktasano bhavet balavan indriyo gramo vidvamsamapi karshati. A man should not associate with a woman in a solitary place, not even with his mother, sister, or daughter, for the senses are so strong that they lead astray when a person advanced, even a person advanced in knowledge. When a man remains in a solitary place with a woman, his sexual desires undoubtedly increase. Therefore, the words ekanta bhutani, which are used here, indicate that to avoid sexual desires, one should avoid the company of women as far as possible. Sexual desire is so powerful that once saturated with it, that one is saturated with it if he stays in a solitary place with any woman, even his mother, sister, or daughter. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Guru Maharaj Srila Shripad Ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So my pranam to all the devotees, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis assembled in the Bhaktivedanta Institute's Bhagavatam discourse. And Bhagavatam gives us the best knowledge, and Srila Prabhupada's commentary is the best in Srimad Bhagavatam, among the Srimad Bhagavatam commentaries, because it reflects our nature and our situation in the present times. Because the message of Bhagavatam is always the same, but the application of it and relevance of it may change according to time, place, and circumstances. Certain aspects becomes very evident when the times change, and so especially the purport that Srila Prabhupada is writing here, that one should be careful not to be alone with any woman. So some time ago such statements may appear very, very astonishing, but the way that time is degrading, the statements of the scripture doesn't look very astonishing. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada's books has everything that we need, and we should have this conviction. So it doesn't mean that we should not read other books, but you can read other books like reference. But Srila Prabhupada's books, they are written for our times in which we live. So here we see that this attraction between man and woman is so powerful. So, and if we go to the root of this attraction, is this pleasure derived from the form of woman and all her features. Everything is attractive. So her voice is very fine. Women look more fair than men, attractive. Of course, men also look attractive to women, but women are more attractive. So that's why they say women are fair sex. So it is in the nature of man and woman. The things are like that because Purusha and Stri. The very meaning of Purusha is the enjoyer, and Stri means enjoyed. So therefore, woman is definitely made very attractive to attract the mind of the man. And if you see this, it has captivated even the mind of a great learned scholars like Kasyapa Muni. So it indicates that that happiness or pleasure is more fundamental than the knowledge. More fundamental to our existence, which means Satchit Ananda Vigraha. So Ananda is very, very fundamental, most fundamental to our existence. After Sat, eternity. Chit, we are knowledgeable. So knowledge means, Chit means to be aware of the things, to be conscious. Ananda. So this Ananda is very, very fundamental because this Ananda guides all our actions. So this is our guiding principle for all our actions. Ananda. Just like if we drop a ball, if it is attracted towards the earth, it will fall towards the earth because of law of gravity. Similarly, the living entities are attracted toward happiness. So therefore, the knowledge, though the knowledge is there, it doesn't prevent one to degrade or to elevate. For that matter, it doesn't matter whether one is degrading or elevating. That consideration is what constitutes knowledge actually. But pleasure overtakes the knowledge because that is more fundamental to us. Because the so-called knowledge you are acquiring only to uh, be happy. So therefore, when the happiness itself is presented, the knowledge is very easily ignored. So therefore, the happiness is the most fundamental. So therefore, any activity in this universe that is that is a necessity, that is associated with some pleasure. That's how the nature, for that matter, we can say the Supreme Lord compels, attracts or compels the living entity towards particular activity. Because happiness is most fundamental. Just like we keep one jaggery, the ants will automatically come there. So in the same way, wherever there is some happiness, the living entities automatically attract. Because the living entity is deprived of this true happiness in the material world. So therefore, whatever happiness available in whatever form, they go for it. They go for it, and knowledge only works up to some extent. So as soon as the living entity feels, yes, there is some happiness for me here, then the knowledge no more works. Like Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsha Sangas Teshopajayate. Dhyayato. As soon as this dhyana is there, contemplation is there. As soon as we contemplate, we have that glimpse that, oh, I have some happiness here. We can experience a glimpse of that happiness. So when we have that glimpse of happiness, then knowledge won't work. Knowledge won't help us. Knowingly, we will ignore the knowledge. Though we know, but we will ignore the knowledge. So therefore, we have experience, we have daily experience, or we have regular experience about this. There are so many don'ts, but it becomes very hard to stay away from the don'ts because we are so much deprived of happiness that don'ts, we don't care the don'ts or don't cares don't do's don't restrain us from engaging. So that is our most fundamental driving force is happiness. So therefore, this knowledge will not prevent us. So mere knowledge of the scriptures will not help us to remain on transcendental platform. We need association of the transcendental persons who engage us in the higher happiness, of bhakti, Navavidha bhakti. That is our original happiness on the platform of devotional service. But when we forget Krishna, the other happinesses, they become prominent because that is the only happiness we know and we have. And living entity is automatically attracted to whatever happiness is available to it. So it is necessary for us to enthusiastically and jubilantly participate in Krishna consciousness, the activities of Krishna consciousness, joyfully perform. It is necessary to be joyful, free from temporary misunderstandings or temporary difficulties. One should remain joyful because we have Krishna. So this scholarship doesn't help. Scholarship will give reasoning, good, bad, we understand, but many times we knowingly we do wrong things because we are deprived of higher happiness. And also to further facilitate the cause of procreation, the cause of increasing the population. When a man sees a woman, his intellectual part of the brain becomes dumb. This is what is observed I read somewhere. His reasoning part of the brain becomes little dumb. It doesn't work. Reason doesn't work. When the man sees a beautiful woman, his reasoning part stops functioning. So that is the reason in all our advertisements, promotion, they use beautiful women and girls to promote products, all the products, without even if they don't have any connection with the woman, but they somehow make out the connection. Because when the beautiful woman is there, a man's this part, rational part of the brain doesn't work, doesn't function enough. It functions somewhat, but it doesn't function enough to restrain. And similar thing we are seeing in the case of Kashyapa Muni, that when the wife is very pleasing in the behavior, so the man will be automatically very attracted and will be inclined towards wife to agree whatever the wife proposes. And that is a duty also of the husband to fulfill all the desires of the wife. That is the duty of the husband. So when the wife does her duty of serving her husband, husband will be naturally inclined to serve wife's wishes. It is very natural of a man and woman. And to further add to that, the rational part of the brain doesn't function normally. Because we will be carried away by the attraction. So therefore, for this reason, in the Vedic times, the women are not put in the forefront of the spirituality. Also in many other things, because things won't be rational for the man. So therefore, because when a woman is present, when a woman is a beautiful woman is giving a class, a man, you won't be able to focus the content, because his brain will be captivated by her beauty. And different thoughts will come to his mind. So it is not very astonishing that a great learned scholar like Kashyapa Muni, he is captivated. So then what to speak about ordinary beings? It is not at all possible to resist this attraction unless one is happy in Krishna consciousness. Unless one rediscovers his real happiness. So we see when the universe is created, living beings are not interested in one another. They are not interested to procreate. But as soon as this pleasure is created, they become very interested in each other. Man and woman, they become very interested. Imagine if this pleasure is not there, what kind of relationship would exist between woman and man? There won't be any closeness, intimacy, or the so-called love. All these are actually rooted in this pleasure. So in another place, the Lord also says that the Lord has applied this extra pleasure coating to the senses so that the living beings, they procreate. Otherwise, if we ask them, please procreate, it is a service to the Lord to generate children. Please engage. Nobody will be interested. Just like we see many sevas. Unless there is some somebody's mic is on. Can you please mute? Okay, thank you. So unless there is some personal gain, we don't accept any seva also. We'll see what is there for me. The seva itself is not giving us pleasure. Something that comes out of the pleasure, that's what is giving us pleasure, and that is called karmanyavadikaraste mafaleshu katachana. The fruit is motivating us, not the service itself. That indicates our conditioned state, conditioned situation, conditioned level. Because we see what is there in this for me. So then only I become motivated. So which indicates that we are very much conditioned by this pleasure principle. Sense pleasure. Manashastrani indriyani. So the pleasure substance, this pleasure principle is 6 senses including mind. So there are pleasures on the sensual platform and there are pleasures on the mental platform, mental concoction. We concoct ourselves being some very prominent position, being a prominent person. Again, somebody has unmuted. Please mute. Okay, thank you. So therefore, that motivates us. But that is exactly Lord Krishna advises. Mahafaleshu kadachana. So as long as we are motivated by the fruit, phala for ourselves, we will have to take birth again and again. Because this world is a suitable place for such consciousness. Such consciousness is there. This world is the place. So therefore, we should cultivate this devotional service on a joyful platform, so that we are not hijacked by these lower happinesses of various senses. So we should constantly keep giving this happiness of the devotional service, so that we should be very careful to remove our motivation for other than just pleasing Guru and Krishna and the Vaishnavas. So when we bring ourselves to that platform, then we will again establish ourselves in our original happiness. So otherwise, this man and woman attraction is ultimate attraction, because there is ultimate pleasure. Material pleasure is there in that, because it is meant to entertain us in absence of God. It is meant to entertain us when we are deprived of our basic happiness, basic existence, basic dependence, or basic togetherness with God. Imagine a baby and mother and baby, they are very much one kind of one unit. There is no difference. Like one unit, mother and baby, you cannot separate them. But if a situation arises that baby needs to be distracted from mother, or baby needs to not remember mother, because mother need to attend something very important, urgent, then imagine how much, what kind of attractive thing, engaging thing a baby should be presented, so that she doesn't cry and also not remember her mother. It must be very, very attractive toy or something, and very, very captivating, engaging, and giving happiness. So therefore, the sexual attraction plays the similar role that we and the Lord, Atma and Paramatma, are one unit. They cannot be separated. They cannot be separated. That is our basic existence, basic our fundamental nature, Atma and Paramatma together. But given the situation, Atma wants to be separated from God. Then imagine what kind of attractive thing should be facilitated or presented so that he does not remember God, so that he indulges with a lot of enthusiasm and absorption, so that he doesn't remember God, or the necessity of God he doesn't remember. So this sex life facilitates our forgetfulness of the Lord, because it appears that there is nothing beyond this, right? The 13th chapter, divine and demonic qualities. They say there is nothing more than this. That is how attractive it is made. That the living entity forget Krishna and also deny his existence. So, for the living entities who forget Krishna, the sex life becomes a savior. Sex life becomes it is an attractive thing to distract us. So therefore, if you want to again remember Krishna, then the opposite direction. We have to stop this. Because on one hand, we don't have the pleasure of devotional service. On the other hand, if we are captivated and hijacked by this attraction, then very difficult to pursue devotional service. So therefore, those who are seriously interested to again reconnect with the Lord, they must stop this. Otherwise, they will not be able to connect. Just like a serious student who is preparing for the examination, he need to stop the TV. There is no other way. If you want to put on the TV and watch the most interesting match, like maybe some World Cup final match, and try to study, it is not possible, because he is already very attracted to that kind of exciting matches. And you switch on the TV while studying, you will not be able to. You will not be able to focus on study, and you will definitely fail the examination. So similarly, those who are trying to reconnect with Krishna, they must stop this. Otherwise, they will fail in reconnecting with Krishna, because it expands our illusion from 1% to 2, 4, 6, 10, 20. It extends our illusion and it captivates us and it hijacks our goal of life. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is a cream of Vedic knowledge, because herein all such incidents are presented for our consideration so that we save ourselves. So therefore, we are very, very indebted to Srila Narada Muni and Srila Vyasadeva, and to our acharyas who made the Bhagavatam prominent, the place it deserves in our lives, and giving us the facility to study it and daily. Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. Because Bhagavat Seva is the only way. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. These are Abhadra. The attraction between man and woman in this world is Abhadra. It is the most highest thing in the spiritual world, but it is the most abominable thing in the material world, because the motivation. Because of the motivation, it is the most abominable thing. So therefore, the greatest Abhadra It can be only overcome by Nityam Bhagavat Seva, studying Bhagavatam and especially serving a person Bhagavata. So when we see a person Bhagavata, we will be also pleased in devotional service, in service to Lord Krishna. So, and especially to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Shripad, is Bhagavatam, Bhagavat culture, Bhagavatam book and Bhagavatam culture, and person Bhagavat. So these are our only hope to come out of this greatest attraction and again reconnect with Krishna. So if we understand this principle that this sex life in this material world is created to forget Krishna and to entangle ourselves in other relationships. If this point is clear to us, then we may make some endeavor to overcome this if Krishna is our priority in the life. So for a human being, Krishna should be priority. Otherwise, this facility of sex is available better in other living entities. And we may end up in other living beings, in the body of other living beings to satisfy our priority. So better we make Krishna as the priority in this human form of life and attain to the ultimate destination. So therefore, it should be avoided at all costs. Even if for some reason one lands up in the family life where this is facilitated systematically and religiously, there should be deadline, there should be cap, there should be regulation. So the deadline is 50 years age. If you don't honor, then there is nothing much to be discussed. The result is very, very clear. Forgetting Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy illusions toll. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, thank you very much for patiently listening. My voice was not so good. I tried to be short, a lot to be spoken. I am a very small person, not at all fit to speak on this topic. But whatever little realizations gathered from Guru Maharaj, from Srila Prabhupada books, and our experience, the journey with myself, with other devotees. So I made a little humble attempt. Please forgive me any mistakes or any things you think not proper, possible. And today we have a 4-day summer school starting from today. So we pray to Guru Maharaj to bless us so that this can go smoothly and a good offering at the lotus feet of Guru Maharaj. And this time we made registration compulsory for everybody except speakers and organizing committee, because to bring the seriousness in listening, no casual participation. So the full-time devotees, they can register for as a students very, very little, but that giving that little amount brings us a little bit seriousness in us. And it will be a formal one. It should be in the formal dress. If you are trying, if you may be on the video, also the profile picture should be on the formal. Hare Krishna. Please come forward if there are any couple of questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Shamchandra Prabhu here, Das here. Dandat Pranam, Jai Srila Shripad Maharaj, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for a very nice class on a very, I would say, touchy topic, because most of us, sometimes avoid speaking of the reality of some of the things which are in front of us in terms of nature. I like the point which you mentioned, that the fundamental thing that we are chasing is happiness, and when happiness is easily achieved, we actually ignore knowledge. But it's ironical, isn't it, that it's actually knowledge that tells us what is the true happiness. And when and in other hand, in material world, people chase for the routine happiness in the form of sex life and all that, and in the process they miss to get the main point, that is knowledge. So it's a question of getting knowledge first and then happiness. But actually what happens is people get happiness, cheap happiness first, and then they miss the knowledge. So how does actually one really it's a situation, we all have undergone that, and some of us are fortunate that we somehow come under the shelter of knowledge, and then we know what is the real happiness. So how does one actually go about this in a mass scale? Is preaching the only option of giving knowledge? Because there are so many things that comes in the way that preaching is the essence. Preaching is the essence, and in that essence, this is actually enclosed. This happiness is enclosed, in a very subtle way. So I was just thinking, what should be the right approach for a common man to get this kind of knowledge? Because otherwise, routinely, we see that everybody is innocent in one sense. All are innocent souls, and they just get into the same kind of chakravyuh and go through the motions, and before it is too late in the life. So should one be fortunate by birth, or should one be, there has to be some costless mercy falling by some way, spiritual master or association only, so can you throw some light on that aspect also, Maharaj?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Very nice question. So the only way out is to introduce the transcendental happiness, not knowledge. Knowledge is only theoretical thing. We must introduce transcendental happiness. That's what the congregational chanting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduces. Chant, dance, and take prasad. There is immediately transcendental happiness. And beginning with that, when we engage ourselves in the service, devotional service, then we experience this higher happiness. And that makes them forget this lower happiness. Sometimes you may have some experience that being engaged in devotional service, sometimes you felt, oh, I forgot this. I forgot this happiness, other happiness. So because we are, devotional happiness is ultimate happiness that can fully absorb and engage us. So if we give ourselves a chance and others a chance about it, that is the true knowledge. The true knowledge is not the theoretical knowledge. The real knowledge is the experience of the transcendental happiness in devotional service. So otherwise, theoretical knowledge is not going to help, because we are practically after happiness. So theoretical knowledge will not help unless accompanied by engaging in the transcendental happiness. So on one hand, we should engage. Preaching means two things. On one hand, engaging in the transcendental happiness of devotional service, and on the other hand, giving caution and removing the confusion that it is not all right. This message should be clearly given. If we give it is okay, then it is gone. Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. Right?
Yeah.
People don't care for prohibitions. You give allowance, finished. So therefore, theoretically, it should be given clear message. If you give the message, this is also okay, that is also okay, then gone. Then you will think, why not both happinesses? Then what happens? One happiness disappears. And generally it happens to be the devotional happiness. So the Bhagavatam message is very clear. Message of Bhagavatam is very, very clear. Right?
Yeah.
There is no confusion in Bhagavatam message. Gruhamanda Kupam. The message is very clear. So our message should not be diluted. So on one hand, we should give platform for devotional happiness. On the other hand, this message should be clearly given. And the best, like Prahlad Maharaj says, introduce the child to transcendental happiness because before he is introduced at the age of 5, before he is introduced to the nonsense happiness.
Yeah.
That is the best.
Okay. Okay, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandavad.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandavad. Sorry, I was not able to attend.
No problem, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go on, Maharaj, please.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So,
Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you for recovering faster.
Not fully, Maharaji. When I give long class, at the end I feel little. Please bless me to fully recover.
Yes, you are fully recovered, as we heard. The message was very, very pointed and so clear. But still the situation is, the problem is haunting, which you addressed. But my question would be regarding
Maharaj, some signal problem.
those of us who have session of pure devotees and the Sangha from. Okay, really? So having all this knowledge, am I audible now?
Yes, Maharaj.
Having all this information and knowledge, and through knowledge we make observation on the world. Like the fish is trapped by the temptation of food. The patanga or the firefly is attracted by the rupa. The hiran or hiran ko kya bolte hain English mein? Deer is trapped by the sound, and the elephant by this attraction for the opposite elephant, and the smell, the bumblebee becomes trapped by the smell of the lotus. And we say, oh, these foolish people, they don't understand, this is death for you. So only by one sense they are trapped, it causes their death. And the human being the human society makes the observation, these foolish insects. But the one who is making the observation is like pointing finger towards somebody, that you foolish, but the 4 fingers are
Hare Krishna.
Heading towards us. In spite of observing, am I audible?
Yeah, Maharaj.
Yeah. So what a dilemma that out of all the 5 senses, human being is trapped here. But your focus, Maharaj, regarding the trap of this attraction towards the male to female, this aspect. Could you describe? This is not a need actually. It could be a necessity because of conditioning, because of Vedic injunctions. They provide replacement for the other activities as by any animality propensity is concerned, ahar, nidra, bhai, maithun, ahar is needed by everybody, whether in condition or liberated. Nidra is needed also somewhat. Everybody needs protection. But this indulgence, that is not a necessity. And that's why the Vedas say that it has to be gotten rid of. So unless from that point of view, that important because that entanglement has no replacement. It has to be given up. And that's why when you point you made about 50 years, after 50 years, one has to very seriously think about it, especially for us who have been blessed with this transcendent association of pure devotees.
Thank you, Maharaji.
Now, I want you to elaborate that why the Vedas, although they have given that all these things are ahar, nidra, bhai, maithun, but the other activities they give the replacement like meat eating or intoxications, anything. Intoxication for transcendental jumping and dancing and Hari Kirtan, one can be intoxicated. One can have food, prasadam is food rather than meat eating or anything. But as far as this, there is no replacement given for this sexual intelligence. It has to be really given up, and it is not made a necessity that without that a person will not survive. That's my point, the connection.
Yes, Maharaji. So, in fact, any sense pleasure, none of the sense pleasures are a compulsory for the soul. None of the sense pleasures are a necessity for the soul. They are actually secondary. They are only created. The sense pleasure is created because to express love, right? Our beloved, if our beloved doesn't have sense of eating and pleasure in eating, then how do we serve him? Right? So the sense pleasures are created to serve our beloved, not to entertain ourselves. Thereby, the living entity can be happy in the loving service. Similarly, the beloved also, when we feed, if I'm giving eating is very easy to discuss. When the beloved also when he eats, the pleasure he's getting is not because of eating, but because somebody loves me and somebody is feeding. So these sense pleasures are only there to express love. Otherwise, how do we express? Because the service is service. Love means service. But in the material world, because such a loving attitude is missing, Krishna is missing. So therefore, they all are linked to our necessity. Our necessity. And even if you see from a bodily point of view, sex is not a necessity. But for the person, for the soul in the material condition, it is a bigger necessity than eating. And research they show that the person is obsessed in this activity, he forget hunger, thirst, and every other thing. So on one hand, for the body, it is not a necessity, but for the original thirst of the soul to be happy, and because it provides highest material happiness, so indulging in that, he even forgets all other happinesses, all other pleasures. So unless the soul's urge is replaced, though it is not necessary, that is only on the knowledge platform, and knowledge and discrimination is not going to help. Here we have seen Kashyapa Muni. Doesn't he know that his wife is trying to please him? Doesn't he know that wife is trying to be nice with him? But still he cannot help. One cannot help. So unless one replaces that, fulfills the original necessity of the soul to be happy in loving devotional service. So when the devotional service is removed, then there is sensual service. It is replaced automatically. There is nothing can stop it. No force in this universe can stop the soul to run after sense pleasure. No force. The force of knowledge, the force of anything, authority, the force of anything. No force can stop the soul from running after sense pleasure. The only force that can stop is the pleasure of devotional service, the happiness of devotional service. So this is the only cure is Bhagavat Seva. There is no other cure. And how much we ever discussed, that will only remain on platform of knowledge. Though the body doesn't have the requirement, soul has a requirement. I need happiness. I need to be happy. I need pleasure. So that we cannot take away from the soul. Though the body may not require, soul we cannot take away. Maharaji, only this much.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
I can even Lord Brahma cannot handle himself. Then what force can stop anybody in this universe? So how much we may speak on this topic, even one who is speaking also, he cannot help himself unless he entertains himself in the devotional service fully.
Beautiful. You magnified the true appraisal of a power of devotional service, potency of devotional service. Beautiful.
Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you,
very
Maharaji. Yeah, Achit Kesu Prabhu, please make your question short, and Maharaji, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
Can you
Krishna.
hear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Maharaj. Maharaj, I have question. There is extension in that. One thing is that now you mentioned Bhagavad Seva is the only remedy for getting rid of our material disease. So Bhagavat is considered when we tell Sadhu, Shastra and Guru. So is it that we can consider these three are Bhagavat, and in these three, whose service is important? And for whom we can, important in the sense for serving that most important, if we have to leave the other two Bhagavat, it is okay or not. Third point is that one time I heard from one devotee, Gaur Govind Maharaj says, I have not read, I was trying to find the reference, but one devotee told me that the pratishtha is even higher problem than the sex desire.
Which one? Pratishtha.
Pratishtha means like false ego.
Right.
Self-aggrandizement or feeling important in the vicinity where we stay. So can you reflect it on this? Is it really like that, or if we are free from this material disease, the sex life, then it's okay, things are fine with us, and this pratishtha will also go away? If these things are connected, or pratishtha has a separate existence in the consciousness?
Yeah, just like I said, manas shastrani indriyani. You are struggling with the six senses, including mind. So this pratishtha is something on the mental level. So it's the same.
The material sex desire is not on mental level.
That is on physical level.
But there is some impression in the mental level also, no?
Every pleasure has impression in the mental level.
Anything else, Ajit Keshav Prabhu?
Yeah, Maharaj, please explain, Maharaj.
No, every pleasure has a mental impression. No? When you eat mango, nowadays a lot of mangoes are coming. Why do you buy mangoes again? Because that impression is there in the mind that you have eaten before. So mental impression is always there. Whatever pleasure we engage. But this pratishtha is mostly on the mental platform, though physically there is some praise and all. So this concoction, mental concoction. Yeah, so this pratishtha is also there. It's also same as this one, but mostly for most of us, we are stuck in the here only. So so the pratishtha is also there. That is also same as this, but mostly this pratishtha and this sexual indulgence, they are mostly connected. So one who is running after pratishtha, he will be also running after this because they help each other. Of course, one may be restraining from the sexual activity, but still, because he is not replaced it with the devotional service, devotional ananda. So this running after pratishtha is also the same. I mean that that also deprives us of real goal of life. Yes, sexual desire has some bodily restrictions, but this pratishtha has no any restrictions, right? When one become old, senses become weak, but mind will not become weak. So therefore, one may be haunted with this pratishtha even when one is old, or more when one is old. So definitely what Govind Maharaj said is definitely true. Means it is on a higher platform, but on the sensual platform is the sexual attraction is the highest. So any specific question, if you have, you can ask. Otherwise, I am done. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaji, and sorry. Okay. Yeah.
So, Prabhuji.
Maharaji, one more question. So, shall we take?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Srikant Prabhu, please make it short.
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, your audio is a bit low, Prabhuji.
Oh, okay, okay. Is it getting better now?
Yeah, very much.
We can understand your audio set is not working.
Am I okay now?
Yeah,
yes.
So, yeah, Achut Prabhu's question, sex or pratishtha, I think Maharaj was definitely impressing on this point in his class, that when given a choice, a man will renounce even pratishtha for the sexual pleasure. Maharaji, am I right? If he were given a choice to choose between pratishtha or something like that, the force is so strong in this sex thing that he may actually denounce even the concept of pratishtha.
Yes, Prabhuji, you are right. Both are there. That they are saying kama turanam na bhayam na lajja. One who is infatuated with lust, he neither has fear of punishment nor of any shame of losing pratishtha. It is there. But what Achyut Kesha Prabhu is speaking is that even when one is seemingly free from sexual indulgence, one seems to be affected with this pratishtha. So both are there. When one is in the overcome by kama, pratishtha, he even sacrifice pratishtha. But while making the progress, when he gives up the sexual indulgence, so but has not attained devotional ananda, so he may get stuck at pratishtha because that is a invisible position which others will not be able to observe whether one is really after pratishtha or not. So therefore, the other things, others is that they are very visible. One can make visible judgment whether one is affected or not. But this pratishtha is very difficult to judge even for oneself, and definitely impossible for others, especially when actions are not clear. Actions cannot be clearly established. The pratishtha is motivation is pratishtha. So therefore, that is a place one may peacefully settle when one is not fully on the devotional platform. It could be either because of confusion in oneself or because it is a convenient position where people cannot detect it because we do have cheating propensity. So the pratishtha will be the last, probably to get rid of. But when one is overcome with lust, he doesn't care for anything. Means he's still not come to the platform of pratishtha yet, probably. So definitely, Gaurav Maharaj is very right in saying pratishtha. It means that even after we conquer this physical attraction, that still our mental conditions are still there unless we occupy ourselves with the true devotional service. Unconditional love, like you say, unconditional devotional service. So unless we introduce ourselves to this unconditional devotional service, so we may be still stuck on the mental platform. So both are correct in different contexts. But it is even difficult to overcome this physical attraction. So that platform is still very, very high. And if one has a shelter, proper shelter and obedience, this pratishtha can be, though it may be there, though it may not be fully gone, right? But if one is obedient to the authority, one is obedient to the spiritual master, who will cut those propensities in the beginning, at least they can be stopped from action. The activities of pratishtha can be stopped in the action, and so can be saved. So if one is under the physical guidance of the spiritual master, then this pratishtha can be overcome. It is there like if one is obedient to the spiritual master, if one is obedient to a Vaishnava and serving, who can closely observe my propensities, and if I can be obedient, then all over these propensities, they will become like like the snakes, snake without fangs, they call, no? So that is the power of the Bhagavat Seva. Bhagavat, if you become obedient to Bhagavat, though these propensities may be there, because we are obedient, the Bhagavat will cut those propensities and Even if the traces are there, they won't harm us. So therefore, to be in the physical vicinity of Bhagavat and be obedient to him, that can save us from these residual effects of residues. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Srikant Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your point. That is also correct. Both are correct, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. We can conclude for the day.
Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Bhagavatam Bhakta Vrinda ki jai,
Jai.
Jai Guru Premanande Hari Hari Ho, glories to Guru Srila Sripad.
His
Hare
Holiness
Krishna.
Bhakti Swarup Respect Maharaj ki jai. Thank you all for joining. See you all in tomorrow's class. Hare Krishna.